know we get the Dunlap report, but it is Wealth Wednesdays. This is the segment where wealth is the conversation. This is not the attitude to think about renting your lifestyle. This is not the attitude about celebrating those Gucci bags that you think you might like. This is that moment that if you ain't gonna buy Gucci stock, which we're not recommending today, then you're not thinking about the wealth of your family. This is the moment where wealth is how you focus. And of course, we've got the financial guru, Ian Dunlap. What's happening, Ian?
My brother, how are you? I'm no guru, just a guy trying to get better every week. I appreciate you.
God says you're a guru, and I talk to God. See, I'm literally in touch.
If you say it, I'll take it. Thank you.
Hey, brother, we've got to make sure that our community celebrates real Black gurus, real Black men who are in the business of picking stocks, helping our community navigate their wealth selections and their wealth vocabulary. And every time they leave, they want to get a slice. We're going to give you a slice and tell you where you can go get a slice. So what's going on with you? Wealth Wednesdays here at a seat at the table on Rolling Out with Ian Dunlap.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I'm doing pretty good. I'm happy to be back to everyone watching. Thank you. I love you dearly. Thank you for everyone who's reached out. Microsoft AMD. So for those of you that have taken advantage of it, amazing job. I'm proud of you. Continue to hold. I wrote a couple notes that I want to give perspective on, though, because everyone's always worried about the crash and what happens during the election, the second wave, third wave, et cetera. The truth is that if you look over the course of history, most crashes only last 61 days maximum. And we always worried about the value of the dollar dropping. The value of the dollar has been dropping since we've been taking off the gold standard. Cannot fight that. Inflation will be there. But when these crashes happen, just remember, it's only going to be about a 60 to 90 day period in which the market drops. And you should be thinking Black Friday, oh my God, thank you for this opportunity, opposed to being upset that the market is going down. And like I said, I want my initiative and my aim for us to be able to talk about this as much as we do about sports, rap, entertainment, etc. And I think a lot of people are waking up. But the tip that I want to share tonight is that most crashes only last about 60 days.
Okay, everybody. So here's the strategy when you log on to at least Wednesday Wealth here at the seat at the table. Wealth is not accumulated in 1 year. A wealth strategy does not include you selling or worrying about a crash. When you make acquisitions, plan the acquisition. Be strategic. Know why you're doing it, buy it, forget about it, put it in your portfolio, and then review your portfolio if you're nervous.
Yes.
With the professional. Hey, Ian, this is our co-host, Kevin Hooks.
Kevin, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. How you doing? Had a little technical difficulties, man, but glad.
Same here.
I've been listening.
No, I'm glad to have you here. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Kevin used to be the CEO of the Urban League in Vegas, the biggest money maker in the
Wow.
Now he has some other good news coming on, but it's about, this is Wealth Wednesdays, Kev, and part of what Ian is our financial guru for Rolling Out. Clearly, he does a Dunlap report. We're going to get it online. He's got a book coming out in February.
That you're going to push me to do. I appreciate that.
Well, the one thing about wealth, intellectual properties, is it Zion? What's your son's name?
Xander.
So when I think of Xander, we leave our children 5 to 6 pieces of intellectual property. Xander, his father is not only a financial analyst, investor, investment banker, but author. Their perspective on who they're supposed to be is very different when they go to book signings with their fathers and see their fathers box up books and have created currency. We have to decide how we create intellectual currency. we're funding a lot of other intellectuals but our own.
That's very true. Well, why do you think that is, though? You've been in the media for a long time. Why do you believe that's to be true?
Well, access to capital is everything. So when you think about publishing, when you think about entertainment, particularly, and it's so wild that entertainment's so little on the GDP.
Mm-hmm.
When you literally look at it, in our community is focused on it way too much. We celebrate it, celebrate Elon Musk, love LeBron,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't trade in him.
Yeah.
I really want a community where we can trade in something. And that is the future for our community. Intellectual properties you can trade in. Because at some point, you're going to be a part of something big that's publicly traded and actually create currency. Other than that, I think you've got to front load. So when you think about publishing, it's not as bad, but if you and I said, well, you got to do 10,000 books to get in at least 5,000 doors.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 books a door. Then all of a sudden it's going to cost you, let's just say $4 on the high side. It was an expensive book. That's 40 G's.
Yeah.
And then you got to ship it. Then you got to market it. Before you know it, you're at 80 G's.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't sold a book yet. Then you got to pay the intellectual. And he needed something up front. That's why he's going to get a small royalty. So all of a sudden I got about 150 grand in a book.
Or
so
you can put a lot of content
to sign a big deal so everything can be big. You sign a big deal, Michelle Obama, so it's a big deal. And then it's still big. It's mega. So it's front loaded. Entertainment's front loaded. It's the record business. Why do people sell their publishing? Because somebody's willing to give them their money in advance and they need some money right now.
Absolutely.
So it's all front loaded. The movie, come on. You got to front load the movie. You got to pay everybody to be in it. So, and we haven't had artificial money. It's not one of the wealth. It's not that strategy. What you're suggesting to somebody, for all those people who don't want to hold it, if you have a stock portfolio, it's 10 years old and it's gone up, at least doubled where it was, somebody will give you a loan. Then you can play the margins.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a portfolio, then that becomes a problem. So 61 days, I always hear you saying that, but let's not be spoiled children. Buy something and have nerves.
Yeah.
Buy something and use history as your forecasting vehicle. Don't look at 52 weeks. Be envious. Go back and look at where Facebook was when it went public.
Very true. Even this year, Microsoft is up 100% year to date.
Okay, so here's what I'm trying to share with my hustler, right? Because see, we slinging weight, you slinging basketballs and grams, but we slinging weight over here. And so most people don't understand what that means. When you tell somebody that Microsoft went up, let's play math.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you put
in $1,000,
$1,000 in, you would have had 2,000 long term, 100,000 in, 200,000, 1 million in, 2 million.
And that would have been in how many months?
12 months.
Okay. So for most people who are listening, it went up 100%.
Mm-hmm. In a company that we all know. Not the most popular company, not the biggest tech company.
Right. But he said Microsoft has gone up 100% this year, though.
Yep, last 12 months.
Okay. So how much has it gone up in the last 7 months? Because we're in the 8th month of this year.
Probably at least 42%. I'm off a little bit, but probably 42 to 48%.
Right. So where can you get 42%?
Not many places.
Unless
unless you have a business that, like you said, has a lot of proprietary intellectual capital, or you have a product that is very unique, very few places. Very few. And I always tell entrepreneurs, and I was talking to my guy, Jason, who's an actor. He's on this amazing show with Seth MacFarlane called The Orville. Went to college together. Artists are trained to put all of their money back into their own projects. I get it from an entertainment side, but all the movie houses take their money, put the profits into Wall Street, and produce money. You notice no record label and no movie production houses went out of business during COVID. Why? We have to look at what the top 1% of companies do. Don't follow what people do. You don't even have to listen to me. But when these companies are reinvesting their profits, that is for a reason. So I always ask, am I a better entrepreneur than Bill Gates? Am I a better entrepreneur than Elon Musk, than Zuckerberg, than Sergey at Google? The answer is no. I should turn over my money to them so they can make me money. There's no different. And then if we went to a rec league at 24-hour fitness and I picked up LeBron and Kawhi, I'm going to ball and win with them. Same thing. But we have to retrain ourselves to stop trying to flip and doing these other financial scams that are out there. And everybody's like on WhatsApp and Telegram, and you're sending 500 off to somebody that you never met in Mississippi, thinking that you're going to double your money when there are legitimate places in which you can do it. And then you can monitor what the actual returns are. Now, I think this year has been the greatest case study ever. Invest. We can't say that we don't know. We make Twitter popular. We made IG pop. We made Facebook pop. But we don't want any of the money there. Why? So
one of the challenges that we face, so I like to communitize things. I like to bring it down to the grassroots level, is there was a time in American history where the great mobility was achieved through education, economic mobility. So the more degrees you got, the more mobile you became. So you could be born poor, get the right amount of degrees, then move into a higher class of income, and then be able to accumulate wealth that way. The other way we accumulated wealth was home ownership.
Yes.
So passing homes down. Well, those are really not quite, mobility like that doesn't work anymore. Sure. Right now, the average African-American household wealth is about $17,000.
And that's a stretch.
And that's a stretch. And as the average wealth for white Americans is about $180,000. So there's a disparity. My concern is we want all of our stuff right now, but that is not how you accumulate wealth.
Yeah.
And to me, wealth equates to freedom. So we're out here in the streets marching, Black Lives Matter, and all of those things. The best way I know to be free is to accumulate wealth. So you can tell people, I'm not going to show up to your COVID filled environment. I'm not going to show back up. I'm going to start my own business. If I'm going to risk my life, I'm going to do it this way. What do you say to people who want to be these overnight sensations?
It doesn't work. I'm a man of very few words. I'm going to be real with you. I've been an entrepreneur since 2003. It doesn't work. Like, everyone's looking at my breakout year of this year and last year. You didn't see me when I was in college doing this, listening to 8 Mile Soundtrack and Get Rich or Die Trying, working on this. For my business owners, if I can go back and be told anything, take half your capital and put it into the market. Those companies that are publicly traded are going to do better than you. You want to be an angel investor, venture capitalist, great. Hop in the stock market, because the probability of you finding a startup that is going to return you 57x or 110x is 1 in 1 million. Very tough, even for the best that can do it. You can go Google which companies are the top 10 revenue producing companies and put it there. Everyone wants to flip fast. Everyone is now an expert on every damn thing, politically, in terms of COVID, investing, money, everything, right? But it's very few people that are producing results. It's not going to be an easy climb. But if you sacrifice, and this is why I come on and share this message every week, I had a guy tell me this in 2007 and 8, and I didn't listen. So I get it. But me not listening from 2007, 2008 cost me millions of dollars.
The other side of this concern, though, is not only access to capital, but it's also the liabilities that we create with that capital.
Yep.
One of the things that we have a challenge with is conspicuous consumption. And so what I say to people is, if you have no debt, when that check comes from that hard work, that's actually yours. And that's yours to build your wealth with. But if you have to pay credit cards and all these other, so when people talk about other people's money, it's usually not consumer debt. So can we talk about the difference between consumer debt and debt for business and business debt?
Yeah, and I know it's popular to say use other people's money until you have to pay that loan, or that loan gets called. And then if you have a $100,000 loan, $50,000 loan, all of that theoretical talk goes right outside the window, and you are staying up and can't sleep at night. So I'm big on, like you said, no debt, no credit card debt. And it's funny because as you do better and make more money, it's easier now for me to get a loan than it ever was probably 6 years ago. Right. I don't want or need the loan now. They're throwing them at me, right? So I'm talking specifically to Black entrepreneurs. I'm begging you, tie your money into the market, because if people stop spending, at least you'll be able to keep your business afloat and have a line item on your revenue that is constantly producing. You will be surprised at how often, even if business is not going well, a lot of companies are staying in business by investing in the market. And the great part is you don't have to pay me $1. I've already gave you guys 8. Like AMD has went up, 25% since we first started talking about it on here for free.
Look at Apple, look at Tesla. Ridiculous.
NVIDIA. So if you guys, and this part I love about investing, it separates the talkers from the doers. Everyone wants to talk and sound good because everyone wants to rap, but don't have no bars and you not on beat. If you can execute, you will make money.
Right.
That's it. It comes down to, will you put your money and start small, start with $1, start with 10, but for those of you with more money, if you can allocate 40%, 30% of your capital and put it into the market, you can have money working for you, and you'll see that it's going to be the thing that produces the most money for you, hand over fist. We have to just retrain. And I know it's not easy because it took me a while to get to a place where I went all in. And to everyone that's an entrepreneur, I'm going to warn you, everyone that you know is going to call you crazy. The same people who are so proud of me now, and I love you, thank you. But 4 years ago and 6 years ago, you were not proud. Said I was crazy, right? So you're going to have to deal with that, but your vision is your vision for a reason. Just execute, especially my Black women that are entrepreneurs. It is very hot for companies to target you to try and give you funding, but be careful with the terms because they're trying to take advantage of you. Now that the Black Lives Matter movement has kicked up a lot of people are catering to you publicly. But when you look at that term sheet, the deal may not be the most advantageous for you. So you can have actual freedom, invest. And the great part is that women especially already know what companies to invest in because it's some of the ones that you love the most already, like Target, Walmart. Like these are not companies that we have not heard of. So leave NIO alone, leave Nikola alone. It's not going to replace Tesla. Pick the big boys, put your money into them, and you'll be A-okay.
All right, but it's Wealth Wednesdays. You know, y'all keep talking about the.
That's the wealth tip, though. The execution part.
I got it, Ian, but you know, on Wednesdays, I think they need a little bit more regular attitudes about what. Because when you say it, just get all in. Most people that we're talking to, as we're looking at the community, given where we are, I want people to stop thinking of themselves. Literally save some money. And instead of putting it in a savings account, buy a stock in a company or a product that you use that is in tech or they are a leader in the operation. So that's not 7-Eleven where you can buy Walmart.
Yeah.
That is not JCPenney's.
Just a horrible stock. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, just because it's cheap.
Yep.
You know, people don't follow the dogs. We're not recommending that you take anything out of your savings that is not a company that is already winning. Yeah. So the other thing is bragging rights. Wealthy people know how to brag. You should. Yeah, you know, I own a couple of stocks and, you know, me and Bill Gates share the same stock picking choices. We, you know, I hang out with Bill. I'm invited to his shareholder meeting. When you own Microsoft, then you and your family can plan trips to go to their annual meetings. You know, the other thing is having experience. This is a lifestyle. I don't want people to think wealth is not a lifestyle. I don't want them to imagine that wealth is not a lifestyle. There are people that just go in an urban community and buy an empty lot that nobody wants just so that they can add the lot, that property that is not getting ready to move. They're not going to get any more of it. Yeah. They follow the cranes, find the cheapest lot closest to the crane, and say, okay, they'll be here soon. And if they don't, I'll give it to my grandchildren and to be there for them. Stop thinking of yourself. Wealth is about an entire transformation of your family and your grandchildren's future.
I think the biggest thing, though, if we're going to have an honest conversation, is twofold. In order for a person to want to build wealth that is struggling, because I was there. So for those of you who don't know me, I know you see the suit and tie now. Previously, I was broke though. Broke. So a person doesn't want to build wealth if they don't know what the outcome is going to be, if it doesn't benefit them. So the reason why I try and give some of these away for free is so they can actually get them and say, okay, great. Because when you once you get secured yourself, then you want to help others in our community, usually. And then secondly, we got to have a deeper conversation. And I'm not trying to preach on a pedestal, but it's hard to really want to build wealth if you end up having children with people that you don't care about. It's a deeper conversation. We got to have that privately. I don't want to have the conversation in a public forum. But if you have child or you have family with people you don't care about, you're not going to think about 5 years down the line, let alone 50. I know a lot of people are talking about generational wealth. I think a lot of it, excuse my language, is bullshit because they're not taking the action that they need today to even better them. We got to have real conversation. And it's the great part I love about being in my space. I don't need anyone to like what I say in order for my business to do well. I'm going to help first. If you follow me, you're going to win. I'm going to give it to you all for free. You got to execute. But that's the biggest part, the foundational part, is we have to learn how to build these legacies a little bit better. Now we can go, I mean, we talked about the housing, but we can talk about redlining. There's redlining in stocks. I mean, 50 years ago, you would need 50 grand. Most Black families didn't have 50 grand to put up to the side to be able to get into the market. And you didn't know anybody because there weren't many people that looked like us that were in it. Then we could talk about the court system, family law, child support. It's a deep rabbit hole we can go into, but I don't want to have the conversation publicly. I think we should discuss in-house business behind closed doors and not on camera. But I think people also need to be able to see some tangible fruit for themselves before they can look to build for others, or at least that was my personal experience when I was broke. I'll tell you this, when I start getting money for myself, I want to help others.
Two things about it, because I think everybody has moments where you can be an entrepreneur. You might be broke every other payday.
Facts.
You know, now if you stop buying and stop eating out, you notice that all of a sudden things begin to stick and stay. I think there are principles that we're talking about when we're talking about wealth. I think nothing else on Wealth Wednesdays, they come away with some principles of what you're talking about, then that's the win. Because principles, you might have been broke in, but you weren't broke in. See, I don't want anybody to imagine, you know, you might, you know, write a story about a guy who runs to the country club, brother. He gets to the table with the other, he gets to the gate and the guy says, Mr. Such and Such. He says, yeah, I know, I'm not a member anymore. He said, no, Mr. Whatchamacallit bought your membership. You're a member again. And he said, oh, okay, thanks. He drives on in. And then as he walks in the club, everybody's whispering because everybody knew his company went bust. You know, he's there. His wife she meets him at the front door and she says, thank you, honey. And he says, what are you thanking me for? He says, she says, your friend, Mr. Whatchamacallit. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's in there having lunch and he's waiting for you. And so everybody around the table says, man, there are four other guys. I'm not, man, I can't mess with this guy. He's broke. You know, the other guy's like, yeah, he was on the news and looked like he bet on the wrong thing. He lost everything. And so everybody's against the guy, and the guy looks at him and Mr. Whatchamacallit says, you know, I never heard about you till today. And you didn't do anything illegal. It seemed like you made a bet that didn't come in just yet. But I paid your mortgage for the next 2 years. Is there anything else you need? And the guy says, yeah, I need a Range Rover for my wife, and I need a Rolls Royce for myself. And the guy says, you got it. He says, and I put a $500,000 in the bank for your company. And he says, and have a good time. He says, now, what's your name again? And The guy tells him his name, and he said, well, what's your name? And he says, I'm Mr. Whatchamacallit. I'm the guy that owns the bank and the bank note and everything else. And then he looks at the guy and he starts crying. The guy, he says, you took care of my family, you took care of everything. He says, but why did you do that? And he says, I'm in business, man. And I bet on people every day. And I believe if you weren't broken, which you're here to ask me for something, so go out and ask for some money. But if you've done it once, you can do it again.
That's very true.
If you're not broken, and when you say broke, that's one thing. That's a financial indicator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the person I'm looking at, Ian, and for most brothers, we just got to make sure we're not broken. Broken is a psychological. You weren't, when you got here, you didn't get the silver spoon with the extra trust fund, so that you didn't have to extra worry about a whole lot. But we already understood that. So as long as we're not broken, I believe you can do it again. And most brothers are going to have to do it, and most entrepreneurs have to do it 2 or 3 times before we get it right.
Absolutely.
The principle of sacrifice, the principle of asking for the money, the principle of feeding yourself, having a skill set that somebody wants. People don't listen to Ian because he's not looking at the facts. He looks at the facts. And here are the facts. Microsoft's up 100% in 12 months.
Yeah, and I'll say this to Black entrepreneurs too. Product does have to be better. Like, we have to fight that. I'm gonna be real. If I were of another hue, they would be comparing me to Buffett. But I understand the fight. So as an entrepreneur, being Black, we have to be a little bit more exceptional. And once you lock into that pocket, like you said, the principle of being great is really key. Because I feel like everyone, and I'm sure Kevin, you'll agree, because you've been in the space for a long time, everyone wants to have a product that is okay or mediocre or it copies something else, but we have to go above and beyond. But for my entrepreneurs, if you do have that product or service that is amazing, it may take a while, but when it hits, it's going to catch wildfire. I promise you. So that principle is key. And like you said, sacrifice, like pay yourself first, put a certain amount of money to the side, because we don't know. Like, I don't have this pandemic ending until October of 2022. We know most Black families do not have enough money to last 2 months. And people always fight me on that. Go text your auntie and tell her you need $8,000 today and see what she says.
Right.
Send a text. Send me $2,000 a day or they're going to kill me. You're going to get a lot of prayer, maybe not a cash app with it. So that's why it's important we team together. And then for those of us that are Black that are doing okay, I posted this the other day. Being rich is not for us. I haven't went and bought a Bentley, a Benz, Gucci, Hermes, any of it. Like, my joy comes from helping.
The worst was Balenciaga.
That
like,
was the.
I mean, I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
He's not coming to your family reunion. Like, I wouldn't mess with nobody that won't come to my family reunion.
But the truth is, like, we are so unseen in society that we do anything to be seen by those who don't look like us.
Instead of reflecting the millionaire next door kind of approach to accumulating wealth, utilizing principles, some of the principles from like someone like a Dave Ramsey, and also recognizing that, when you get, in order to get where you need to go, you need to be willing to do today what other people won't, so that someday you'll be able to do what they can't. Like, I haven't worked for anyone and gained, I haven't earned a paycheck in almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
And when the pandemic happened, it didn't bother me, but it was because I was prepared for this.
Yes.
And I think that's what people need to hear is you need to be willing to recognize that if you're not willing to do today what people won't, you won't ever be able to do what they can't. So I went through, and Munson will tell you, I went through the private planes and the Gucci's, and I was the king of all that world. And you know what I got for it? A bunch of debt.
Yep.
And that's all I got for it. Some good memories. But when the pandemic hit, if I was still in that mindset, I'd have been knocking on everybody's door.
I don't have a problem with that, except for the way it's illogical. There's no market for that. What you gonna do? Go on Etsy and try to get rid of them Versace glasses? I mean, come on, y'all.
Listen, I'll tell you.
Resale value. I want something where there is a marketplace.
I do want everybody to listen. It's okay to pamper yourself under the right circumstances. I don't want them to leave this conversation thinking that we're accumulating wealth as a scorecard only. That is one part of it. But the other part of it is so that we can do so with the freedom to do so. So if I go into Louboutin today and I spend $2,400, true story, it's $2,400 I have to spend. It isn't $2,400 that I'm be paying 19.9% APR on for the next 5 years. That's the point of difference.
But then to be real, after you get the Louboutins, after 2 months, you hate them.
Well, I'm saying, but it doesn't bother me. Like, it didn't cost me.
It didn't cost you anything. Yeah, I agree with that.
At the end of the day, Kevin, when we say that, the principle to me is that's not the principle. At the end of the day, changing my behavior and eating at home, I'm not, okay, I could go out, but that's not my behavior anymore. I got to have wealth principle. I'm not interested in Gucci. I don't even want to do business with people that don't do business with me. I'm over these designers.
Well, we have to take a stance on that.
I ain't never got a thank you card, a birthday card from any of those designers. Once you stop spending, come on, man.
I think it'd be great too if you had a Black designer on here too, because there's plenty of them. And I think if we start to popularize,
I would do it the smart way. And I want everybody to know that there's more than one right way to do something. I don't want people to leave this thinking this an homogenous approach to doing something. Success can be accumulated.
But we're not even talking about, we're talking about Wednesdays, wealth principles, and that's not a principle. It's nobody's gonna call that a principle. We're not. Do you have money? Do you have money? Do you have the money as the person? That's the constant guy. The guy looks to you and says, Kevin said I could do it anyhow. At the end of the day, the principle is. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they misunderstood what I'm saying. So my point to you though is, I want people to understand we need to delve into why do we want to accumulate wealth. And much, and you touched on it, and Ian, you did also a little bit. It is we want to accumulate wealth for several reasons. One of it is generational. I want my kids to be able to win, but also I want to win too.
You have to win too.
I didn't spend 30 years in the marketplace so that I can sit at home and eat ramen noodles.
I agree. I mean, it's freedom. That's the ultimate goal.
But I think the difference is, Kev, and I think all of us, the principles, because I want to make sure we're talking about we're at the seat of the table. At the end of the day, it's so that you can take that $2,400 and put it in a small restaurant and tell them what you want to eat when you can go into your place and work in the back end. This is a new day, bro. This is the movement that we got to make. We need guys like you that got $2,400 to really be linking with a young entrepreneur that has a restaurant that needs that $2,400 and that needs your expertise. You're an expert, Kevin.
I don't feel like it's a
to help them. And I'm almost certain there's a shoe manufacturer and shoe designer, clothing designer for everything that you put on that looks like us right now. Because it's a movement. If we're not going to get with the movement, and if we're not going to say in this movement that we can change our behavior to not alienate our own community's creative process with your instruction, because we need to pour in. Like, we got to pour in. We can't be celebrating these people that do not celebrate us. I've yet to see it. I've seen them co-opt us, but I don't see it. I don't anticipate it. I think a guy like you helping a young restaurateur in any city is a blessing. And I'm sure that same guy will get you whatever you want to be ordered if you let him know in advance.
And I'll tell you the same thing I said. It's not a zero-sum game. We can do both. The reason I want to make sure that everybody sees that we have a differing opinions, but it's all directed toward love and success, is when you get to the point where you have made the sacrifices, there has to be a reason why you took that journey. And some people's reason is, I want to be able to make sure that my son's son can afford college. Some people is, I want to be able to support all the small business in the community, and that's all that matters to me. Some people want to be, Renaissance man like me. I want to buy Louboutin and help the community. I want to fly private and help the community. I want to sit with the president at inauguration and help the community. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, I don't think we talk about wrong or right, but I think the conversation is principle. Like, at the end of the day, the principle of saving and sacrificing and understand what I like. It ain't that wouldn't like it.
Right.
I don't have a principle of what I like, bro. Come on, man. You know, hang out. It ain't.
I'm with you.
It ain't. We're sitting in our community, and I think we're in a moment. Like it's a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's a pandemic. I have at this moment right now, I do have a problem with luxury spends. I got a spiritual problem with that right now.
Why is that though? For those that are listening, who are like, man, I'm going through hell. Maybe that luxury good to make me feel good. Why do you have a issue with it?
Because I know it's a temporary feeling. I know that at the end of the day, no matter how many I like, I'm either going to have to get some more of it. It's like cocaine. Materialism is like cocaine. You're going to never get enough. You're going to always need it suggests to you that you're not even okay without a new shirt. Not that you need one. That you have to have the latest so somebody can give you some accolades. That you're not just as comfortable looking in the mirror without the shiny new toy that cost you. And at a moment, go ahead, Ian.
How long did it take you to get there, though?
And how much money did you conspicuously use for consumption did it take to get you there? Because that's the other part of it. It's easy.
Ian, I would say I've always known, even when I've been in the position of always knowing, because at the end of the day, my whole product has always been connected to my community. Mm-hmm. When I sat back and thought about it, I walked in, a guest house and literally had all these tennis shoes. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah, right. We've all been there.
And I'm saying, well, now I got to manage and maintain something that's getting older. I'm not a collector.
Yeah.
It's not coins or stamps. That didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say it's just, I knew it doing it because I understood and I read the book that Kevin is recommending to everybody, The Millionaire Next Door. So if nothing else on the wealth principle, we want you to study because we're not suggesting, we just brothers talking. I talked to Kevin and argue about, whether the coin's going to be head or tails, and we ain't going to use no stats. We just going to argue as we drink coffee and look at the people walking down the street, as a conversation. And I would go hang out at Xander.
Yep.
I would go to Xander's game and just sit with you and we just talking, just be talking. But I think I've always, because I read the book and I've enjoyed books like Who Moved My Cheese, but over the last probably 10 years, I've focused on the change and slowly, because it was slow. Mm-hmm. But I don't want, when you become saved, I want to let them know what it is. That no, it's not okay. And the principle right now that I have is more therapeutic because I know people are suffering in my community and are not going to have enough.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't even want to be in anybody's store. I only shop at Macy's because they actually advertise with me. So I shop at Macy's. I can get any suit look good. Everybody says it's fresh and I'm good. I can wear ink. I don't even need custom. I've done all that and I'm good. I'm good on custom. Yeah. But I really think the principles of sacrifice, the principles of hearing the story when they'll know Mr. Walton drove an old truck to his store.
Yeah.
So when you begin to paint a new reality, it isn't that I don't understand Kevin's flyest in the world, but he'll pay $300 for a handkerchief. And everybody know it and it'll be fine. But for me, that whole idea, for me, even then, Ian, it had to be on sale. I wanted them to be hurting, the manufacturer at the Gucci. I shop after Christmas and after returns. See, I want all the returns.
All the discounts you can get.
All the discounts I can get. I can't pay retail. I would not pay retail. So just even my perspective on retail is different. It's different. It's always been that way. Because I was a T-shirt guy, Ian. So I sold T-shirts.
Yeah.
So very different kind of concept.
I mean, yeah, and then I mean, I think I'm in between. So I've been on both sides. When I was broke, like even in college, like I had some fly stuff. I had Versace jacket, Prada jacket, was eating rice-a-roni every night.
Right,
So
right.
as I got older, I was like, it doesn't mean as much. And then also like when you have people die in your family, the materialism part doesn't matter as much. But here's, I think, a healthy blend of both. My thing, I think for the next 10 years, everybody black should do a financial fast for the first 6 months of the year. Don't spend any money with any luxury companies, nothing extra. Put that money away for you. Because I'm going to be real. This pandemic was just the first wave of recessions that will be coming. The job market will not be the same in 2022 as it was in 2019. Just like in 2008, the jobs that were there in 2008 have not recovered. Kevin, I mean, you're in Vegas. You remember what 2006 and 5 was like? And amazing. 09, different. Atlanta, different. I know there's still a big migration to Atlanta, but the jobs are not there that are high paying like they used to be. So I want you guys to be prepared and also look at history because we had a roaring 20s, but there's something that came after that that was a little bit troubling. And then but there's opportunity, even in chaos. Spanish flu 1918, Madam C.J. Walker made $1 million with no internet, no social media, selling shampoo, conditioner, and pomade. It gives perspective too. So there is a great opportunity even in the chaos, especially for my women entrepreneurs. And I say this, I'm not playing to the audience, but black women execute faster than black men. So in these next 2 years, a lot of you can become millionaires too, just by following a lot of these principles if you dig down deep into your business. And then also Brother Munson is a big advocate for African-American entrepreneurs. So if I were you, I'd probably reach out and try and get a seat at the table too. So
yeah. No, I think the principle for all of us, I'm just not good on paying people that don't pay and invest in my community. I'm out of that.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with these luxury companies continuing to suggest that they like us because they pick somebody in the culture to have be up front.
Yeah.
I'm not really feeling that right now. Not when, we still we talk about food deserts, and then we got tech deserts.
Yep.
You like that, Kev?
That was good.
We were, I guess it was last week, we had one of the marketing directors, the brother at HP. He was talking about tech deserts and how 33% of all families, particularly families of color, are in a tech desert. Basically, will not be able to stand up when school starts.
That's real.
So, no, I'm kind of keeping my chips, you guys. I don't want my community suffering. And when I help, I want to be present. Because there are food lines and everybody's still in denial of the food line. The people in those food lines that are just not telling you they're in the food line.
Yes.
I've heard a couple of my seniors saying, where did all these young people come from that are in the food line with us?
Yeah.
And, so I don't want, it's really not the picture that everybody's seeing on IG. It's not
at all
that everybody's really seeing, but the food pantries and the people that I know do gooder here in Atlanta that delivers meals, people are going hungry every night, y'all. So for me, Kev, that's just kind of where I am on buying luxury goods when I know that my community is going to need me more this season and in this season. And I think that, like you said, I think we got to talk about this. People are going to have to move. If you're in a Rust Belt city and it is not one of the 6 to 10 locations that jobs are going to grow 10 years from now, you need to pack your car, sleep in your car. 60,000 people sleep in their cars a day in LA, so you will not be alone. Right. They join gyms and YMCAs to shower for them and their family, and they make the transition. We have to have another big Black migration in order to survive and move.
What would be the ideal cities you think?
Well, I'm gonna get Austin for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There is a fact, and I'll bring it next Wednesday, that the census puts out the track.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to be like you. It's based on fact.
Yes.
But Austin is one of them. One of the, somewhere up in the Northeast, Seattle or one of those locations, it's another. But they know where they're headed.
Yeah.
And we want to suggest our community move. And Black men are suffering the most.
Yes.
They're in the wrong businesses.
Yes. Can you name 3 of the worst ones to be in? So it comes from you and not from me.
Kevin?
I can't speak on it, man.
Three of the worst jobs to be in?
3 of the worst businesses to be in. Because I think we got to have the conversation too. We have to play in the right fields. And I feel like a lot of the times we'll hop into spaces and don't know what the probability of success can be there.
If I'm guessing, because I haven't read the data, if I'm guessing, one would be anything service oriented because of the pandemic. So
yeah,
it would be hotels, restaurants.
Restaurants for sure. Yeah. Tough business, low margin, tough.
Brick and mortar, barbershop and beauty salon. You have to do it out of your home now.
It's tougher. Yeah. And I think it'll be great too. Maybe next week or maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think that it's for a lot of the jobs, and I'll get the study. It was actually done, and we need to find these brothers. They were at one of those consulting firms, and it was guys that are in like stocking. If you're working in the shipping department,
Yeah.
between AI and them artificial conveyor belts,
Yeah.
that is not getting ready to happen. It is getting ready to like be a bad situation. So I know that was one of them. We're not in healthcare, Black men.
Yeah.
Black women have gotten into healthcare, and they might start as a LPN, become a RN, might become an administrator, might learn how to code, but all of a sudden she's in an industry.
Yep.
And they leave the industry. Men tend not to be in some of these industries. But we can bring that up next time. I'll look that up. Fast Company actually stole the idea from some brothers about the status of Black men. So it's kind of written about the status of Black men not being able to survive in the next 10 years.
Yeah, and maybe we can put together some resources, even bring in like some coding academies and talk. I mean, because if people learn coding, some of the baseline careers are like 80 grand, like starting. Just depends. So, but we have to do things as a community, because if you do them solo, it feels like a daunting task to be the only one there. And then culturally, it feels unpleasant sometimes. So maybe we can start to bring some guests on. So now we're not only presenting the problem, but giving the answer to that as well. So the people watching that may be faced with this daunting task can have a place to go and resources to be able to use to be able to make that navigation. Because I mean, it's easy for us to say, but I know, like me 10 years ago, I would be like, well, tell me what to do then, since y'all up there want to be cute on a camera. So maybe we can provide the answer and connect them to who they need to be aligned with to make that transition. But like you said, healthcare. I mean, I'm in Houston, one of the biggest medical facility campuses in the world. It's a lot of money in healthcare. Still a lot of money in construction. Ton of money in tech. But I think we need to introduce the audience to some of these people and outlets that can help initiate those conversations to get them in, so it's not all theoretical.
No, we're not going to have it be theoretical. I'm happy for that. I'm happy to bring them on.
Because I know somebody in the comments going to be like, man, that sounds good. But even if you get homework for tonight, you guys can Google Coding Academy. There's some that are free. There's some that are available for kids. But there are even like some 16-week.
Micro code is great.
Yeah, there are a couple in Atlanta, couple in Houston, couple in LA. You go through the program 16 weeks, 80% job placement. It may not be fun, but it's a lot more fun to be able to make 80 grand, 100 grand. In Austin, yes. Google, Facebook have been there for a while. Tesla is moving to Austin. The no state income tax in Texas helps a lot. Joe Rogan is moving his podcast. There will be a big migration. Like you said, I just don't want us to.
No, I'll give you the stats on that. It was the Black men will suffer the most when automation destroys jobs once held by humans. And
I agree.
That was the article.
Yeah.
And it was McKinsey and Company.
Okay.
And they did the study, the future of work in Black America. That's where they used it. It's on McKinsey and Company. Two brothers did it, but it's the future of work in Black America. So didn't want to let the time go by and not say what it was or where they could find the information in.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But yeah, we need to get those brothers. Those brothers have done several great over at McKinsey, a couple of dedicated brothers to why you should invest. So we'll work to get them on.
That'd be great.
Challenge. I have the 6 cities, why and how, and what's predicting, and why we should move.
That's perfect.
All right, you want to close this out with anything? Any picks? The Dunlap picks of the night?
I'm gonna stick to the same ones. I want you guys to go heavy in tech.
Okay.
I want you guys to go heavy in tech. They've been working. Microsoft's up 100% on the year. Apple's been killing. Tesla's doing great. AMD is up to, I think I hit $81 recently. And I'll remind you, I know you guys probably hear a lot. You only need 4. You only need 4. Get your 2 indexes, 2 tech. You'll be a lot happier. Because I would rather you have 2 companies that are up 30, 40% on a year, opposed to you have some people I've talked to have 50 stocks in their portfolio. I'm like, you have your own mutual fund. Keep a simple half 4, invest every single month. And then I think once you get your friends and family involved and you show them that you're doing well with it, they'll join, and it's easier to continue to do. It's really hard for us to do anything alone because we're more of a tribal and communal people. So tell your friends about it once it's working, pick quality, and everybody will be good.
All right, Kevin, you got anything to add?
Also, once you do so, be patient. I made one of the biggest mistakes I made was getting out of Tesla at 700. All you gotta do is go look at what it's trading at today.
Yep. Yeah, and I talked about this on Monday, but a guy, I think his name Ted Frank, he sold out of Apple in 2001. He grossed 60 grand, cost him $17 million from 2001 to now. Hold for the long term. I know we all want to flip.
Yep.
Man, the real money in any business, short term, long term, is always better. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what business you're in. LeBron, like Kobe, made more money his last year playing than he did his first 3. So you have to have time in. I'm telling you, it's one thing that I wish I would have listened to when I was younger. But just hold it for long term and you'll be good. And you'll be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor before you pass them off to your children. Because I know a big fear in our community is, well, I'm gonna make all this money for my kids and grandkids and I have to suffer. Mm-hmm. Hold it for a few years. You'll be able to ball out and have fun yourself too. So if you get tired of them $300 handkerchiefs, listen, you can mail them to Houston. I appreciate you.
I want to thank Ian Dunlap, the Dunlap Report, my co-host Kevin Hooks, for all that he does. Believe me, he is going to go buy those shoes. For all of you, just take the time to understand it. No matter what you consume, get in the market. But don't just get in the market. Kind of listen to what Ian's saying. Pick something you know. Don't go with some initials you don't know. Apple, you know. Target, you know.
Walmart, you know. Clorox. Yep.
You know you can't find any Clorox wipes, so you know you need to go with that one for sure.
Yeah.
But technology, science, it's not going anyplace. So at any rate, I'm Munson Steed. This is Ian Dunlap, Kevin Hooks. You're watching A Seat at the Table. We'll see you next week. And be sure to invest. You do not have to be in the street, but you do have to be in the struggle. I'm Munson Steed. Good night.
Thank you. Love you guys.